Some people just don't want to recognize greatness. It's me. I'm greatness. You sound like a child, TSLY. At least my company makes cars, CONY. You're dependent on magic internet money. Satoshi Nakamoto is a saint. You put some respect on his name. Sup, losers? Bernie. As your baby game's coming along, I have 155% yield right now. That's more than yours. You look like you do cardio. And only cardio. Oh, snap. I never skip leg day. CONY, you're over there with string beans for legs. As soon as Bitcoin has a price drop, you'll fall like an unstable pyramid at a high school pep rally. Pick yourself up, CONY. Use your arms, though. Hey, guys, maybe having the highest yield doesn't make you the best. Maybe it's about overall returns. Boo. Be quiet, ARK. You're like the middle child of YieldMax ETFs. Nobody even thinks about you. Are you okay? Sorry, I've just been so on edge lately. Are you taking supplements from the internet? Moderna is a pharmaceutical company. This is semi-on brand. Can I get one? You're barely 3 months old. Is this even healthy? Yeah, everything's amazing. I feel amazing. On a random Monday morning, I posted this video where I shared my backtest results for TSLY. It got thousands of views and hundreds of likes in a single day. Thanks for watching. Clearly, this is the information that we as covered call investors want. Because of the feedback from you all in the comments from that last video, I decided to backtest every YieldMax ETF in 5 different scenarios. What can I say? I'm a freak in the spreadsheets. If you found this video valuable, please let me know by clicking the like button. So here's the setup. We're starting with $100 in principal. Our first investment into the YieldMax ETF will be on the first trading day of the first month that it paid a distribution. This is because these are income ETFs, and there's no point in buying an income ETF if it's not paying a yield. Scenario 1 is a flat $100 investment and simply taking all the dividends as a cash distribution. Scenario 2 is a flat $100 investment, but this time we'll reinvest 100% of the dividends. Scenario 3 is where we'll invest $100 initially, but this time we'll reinvest 50% of the dividends and take the rest as cash. In scenario 4, we'll invest $100 initially and invest an additional $100 every month along with 100% of the dividends. And in scenario 5, we'll do the same thing as scenario 4, but we'll reinvest 50% of the dividends and take the other 50% as cash. I use TradingView to get the price of the ETF at the various days and use the price at the open of the daily candle for the corresponding dates. Our backtest concluded on the payout date of the last month of the test. Obviously, if you use different prices in your backtest, this will change the data. So if you're comparing my previous TSLY backtest results to what you see here in this video, you'll get slightly different data, which we'll go over later in the video. The dividend distribution for the ETFs were taken from the corresponding NASDAQ website since it had more history for some of the older YieldMax ETFs, and I used the YieldMax website if the data wasn't present on the NASDAQ site. To save time, I created a couple of tables with the overall results, which we'll be referencing throughout the video. But if you want the raw data, check out the link in the description below. It's my opinion that the best way to use this data is to assess the overall strategy being tested historically and compare each YieldMax ETF to each other, rather than focusing on the exact numbers, given that the price data is constantly changing and we all have different investment positions. People are naturally going to interpret this data differently, so I'll give you some of my high-level thoughts at the end of the video, what I'm doing with my positions based on the data, and would love to know what your thoughts and strategies of choice are in the comment section. Obviously, past performance doesn't indicate future returns, and these backtests don't take into consideration any taxes you may owe on your positions. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. This is just a video from some random guy making spreadsheets and sharing them. At the time of recording this video, I have no affiliation with the fund managers other than owning TSLY and CONY as an individual retail investor. I consider these positions high risk and am willing to lose 100% of the money that I put in for the potential reward. In addition, we will not be covering scenarios that backtest option strategies. Lots of you mentioned this as an option, but I'm not an options trader, and even if I did take the time to figure out how to backtest them, I really wouldn't know what I was looking at. Sorry friends, I'm not your guy for that. I buy covered call ETFs so I don't have to learn how to trade options and manage the positions myself. But if you're running your own option strategies with your covered call ETFs, good luck, and I hope it works out for you. Some of you in the last video mentioned backtesting reinvesting dividends on the ex-dividend date versus the dividend pay date. I actually did backtest a few of the YieldMax ETFs in these situations, and the results weren't statistically significant. If you feel like doing that, go for it, but it's probably not going to make a huge difference in the beginning. But of course, with yields this high, as the positions grow and as time goes on, which allows for more compounding, it could be meaningful, but I still maintain that picking the right investment and overall strategy are far more important. If you're an investor concerned about getting max returns and just can't see why anyone would buy these ETFs. Remember, these are new products that's main focus is income. YieldMax ETFs specifically use synthetic covered calls on volatile stocks. As a result of the strategy, they naturally capture downside and limit upside, so they might not be right for you and your investing style. That's okay. You can still use the data however you want, but remember, buying the stock outright will likely mean better returns overall. Okay, let's get to the results. First off, in every scenario, CONY was the ETF with the highest returns. In every scenario, XOMO was the worst performing. The trend seems to be that the higher yield ETFs were the ones that performed better, but it's not an absolute correlation. And of course, these backtests aren't created on the same length of time, so that is going to affect compounding and overall results. Some ETFs seem to do better in scenario 4 and 5 compared to 1, 2, and 3. This could be due to the performance of their corresponding stock or underperformance of other stocks, as well as the price of options contracts and how much yield the fund was able to get from them. And the length of the backtest, or how old the ETF was, didn't seem to have a correlation to performance, but of course, these are new ETFs, so historical data is limited for all of them. Based on what the data says, it seems like the performance of the stock associated with the YieldMax ETF and the volatility of the stock are significant factors in the overall performance. That's pretty on brand with what I expect from a YieldMax ETF, given that the more volatility, the more price action there is for the options contracts. If you were an investor and wanted exposure to a YieldMax ETF but weren't comfortable with stocks as volatile like TSLY or CONY, you ended up underperforming significantly over the time frame. For me personally, when I was looking to buy some of these funds, I did have the thought to maybe consider some ETFs based on companies that were more stable. Companies like Google, Apple, JP Morgan, and Microsoft. Turns out those are some of the worst performing ETFs for YieldMax so far. That doesn't mean that these ETFs were a bad option. It's just that from an overall returns perspective, at least for now, it seems to be that the ETFs that were most profitable were the ones based on more volatile stocks. My working theory is that the markets in general reward risk-taking, but there is a difference between risk-taking and risky behavior, which the market does not reward. For example, buying a small position in Bitcoin every day versus taking a second mortgage on your home and buying Bitcoin at the top of the market. Yeah, you invested in the same asset, but the approach was very different. With that theory in mind, I decided to take the risk by investing in TSLY and CONY, and I didn't invest more than I could afford to lose so I could sleep at night. For me personally, I'm planning on reinvesting 100% of the dividends from my original positions to accumulate more shares and see if I can generate a sizable dividend and overall position thanks to compound interest as time goes on. One way to think about these YieldMax ETFs is it's like owning a small business. You have two options. The business succeeds or it fails. Obviously, if the business fails, that means we lost money, but it could succeed. And if it does, it will likely take some time to see the results. You will probably not make any money early on, maybe even lose money, and hopefully turn a profit that was worth all the effort in the future. So for me, given the NAV erosion and high yield, I'd expect to see a return on my personal YieldMax ETF investments sometime between when I first bought them and 2 years from that date. But of course, that's based on historical performance. No one can see the future. Ultimately, I took a small risk for a chance at a small reward. Let's see what happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you found this video valuable, let me know by clicking the like button, subscribe for more content, and of course, good luck in the markets.